Hi everyone, my name is Felipe Csapo. I have been working with human resources for around 14 years, especially with HR operations. And I had the chance to move to Otis Elevator and be part of an HR transformation there. So when I first joined Otis, they didn't have any kind of HR operating model in place. And I was able to be part of this transformation, especially implementing the HR operations itself here in Brazil and then moving to other countries in America. So I stayed at Otis for 9 years, and I can say that I was really part of the HR transformation we had there. When I joined Otis in 2014, they didn't have this strong operating model, as I said before, to support employees globally. Putting together the HR business partners, centers of expertise, and HR operations together, like making sure we had powerful HR technologies, made all the difference. So when you have these strong resources, the power technology, you can provide the best experience to the employees, of course, to the business leaders. So, for example, implementing Workday, ServiceNow, ADP, a telephony tool gave us like the ability to improve our daily work, but also to improve how the employees were seeing HR as a support area to the business. If you think about Otis is like making sure we have the best products, like the best elevators, escalators, and Otis was looking all the time for innovation. So when we think about this inside HR, we needed to make sure we had the best resources and best technology. So the same way Otis wanted to make sure the customer experience was good, providing better products, services, maintenance every day. Inside HR operations, we were doing the same. So our focus was like, okay, let's see what we can improve. Let's see what we can change. Let's review our processes, our standard our standard procedures, sorry, uh, and guarantee that our employees would have the best tools to work, like the best processes, uh, and make sure that our employees will see this at the end of the cycle. So it's not only about giving them like the best tools, but also providing them all the knowledge so they can talk with our employees and make sure our employees have everything they need on the daily basis. So when you think about this interaction of technology and human resources, this will require like HR professionals to have a combination of technical skills. I think one of the most important is like human-centric understanding. So HR professionals, they need to stay updated on the latest technologies, especially HR technologies, because they should understand how these technologies can streamline, for example, the HR processes, improve efficiency, and as I was like saying all the time before, enhance the employee experience. But we know that with technology coming and technology changing, this will give us a very high and a very huge number of data that it's going to be available. So I think HR professionals, they must be proficient on data analysis. So HR analytics, it's a very important thing on this as well, because this will give us more insights, and it's not going to help only HR to make decisions, but also the business. And this includes like understanding the metrics, like analyzing workforce trends, using data to optimize HR strategy and practices. So this is one very important topic. And of course, implementing new HR technology This is not only doing the implementation itself. You need to have a very strong skill on change management because you're going to need to communicate this to your stakeholders. But one topic here that I need to highlight is like manage resistance, because we know that every change will impact on our employees' processes. So you need to have this resistance managed, and of course, you need to facilitate the adoption with all the employees. But in order to have all of this, so in order to have the tools in place, in order to work with the change management, you need to have a strong project management skill. So one of the things that we were doing there is like promoting uh, our employees on HR operations to be part of projects more often. So we were choosing employees at least to be inside the project doing something for them to be inside this environment. So I consider essential for HR professionals to have the project management skills. As a global HR operations organization, the idea was to have multi-corporate teams leading regional topics. So, for example, in Americas, Otis had one hub that was in Colombia and some local specific teams in Brazil and the United States, especially because of legislation and local needs. The idea was to have these operations centralized in specific hubs because this would make possible to our teams to provide support to all the continent. So technology was in place to show employees how they could ask any HR related question. Uh, there was a portal in place that was like a one-stop shop that they were able to find like articles, procedures, and find any topic related to HR, but they could also open cases. So our HR operations team, they had all the procedures available. They had all the information they need to support any employee with the region, uh, but of course, respecting the local needs. So the idea was to try to have everything centralized because this would give us power to absorb more information and to support more employees, but of course, all the time respecting the local nuances. I think centralization like played a significant role in streamlining HR operations across countries, uh, while we were like trying to accommodate local needs and requests. So implementing these global HR systems, of course, allowed us to standardize data management, for example, reporting, compliance, monitoring, uh, while we were also trying to provide flexibility to address local requirements. When you have like a global system, the idea is to have global process as well, to have as many standard process as possible. But we know that we have local legislation, local requirements that we need to take into consideration. But this approach that Otis decided to take, it was like facilitated like great efficiency and consistent in HR processes. It helped us a lot to define like roles, responsibilities, and I think the most important thing, the decision-making processes. So we could manage HR operations across all of this country, and of course ensure like a clear accountability and align this with the organization strategic objectives. So again, making sure we were able to have global process while we were like accommodating the local needs and priorities. While I was there, we were working very hard to implement all the technologies, the global tools, not only to implement technology, but also to implement new processes, to review the current process we had in place. So one of the things we decided to do is to create an HR project framework. So the idea behind this was to guide like anyone in HR on the basics, on the foundations of how to implement a project. So we kind of define a global team to work with this HR project framework. And the objective was to have a monthly forum. And we were like sharing some like key process related to project management. So the framework was showing to our HR employees all the phases from a project. So how to implement a project since the initiation into the go live. And each month we were getting one of the topics inside these phases to share to the HR employees on how to do it, things you need to consider, things you need to avoid, some tips. And with all of this material, it was also decided to have a workday learning program. We worked with our workday learning team to create 3 different programs that it was available to all employees in Nordis, not only HR, but it was like a foundational program, an intermediate, and an advanced one. And if you wanted to go through all of it, you always needed to finish the first one that you started. So the idea behind this was like, okay, you need to understand how it works, a project, because we are working with projects all the time inside HR. So in my team, for example, I think I've mentioned this before. Every time we had a new project coming, I tried to assign a different resources. So this person would have the experience of being inside a project to understand how we would work on defining scope, on getting approvals, on working on the implementation, on the design, on the testing, and all of this. I think it was very, very good. It was this skill that I was highlighting before that HR professionals should have. We were like working hard, at least for people to understand how works all of this cycle when you initiate and when you have the go live. I think when you challenge your employees and when you engage them doing different things, this is going to help them also to think out of the box, to do something different from the daily work, and to provide them a different exposure. So they were getting contact with global teams. They were meeting new people, people from other regions, like people from EMEA, from India, from China. The HR operations implementation for America was one of the biggest projects I was part of because we started this when I joined in 2014. The first country that we implemented was Brazil. The go live was in 2015, and then Otis like started moving to the other countries in Latin America. So this was from 2015 until 2018, and it was like all the time like reviewing the current processes, making sure we had a connection with the local HR team. We had a support from HR business partners, and it was like a very impacting project for the organization itself because we wanted to show them that we could review the HR process across the region and we could work to provide a stronger experience and a better experience to the business and to the employees. And then in 2019, we had the challenge also to transfer the HR operations activities from Canada to Colombia. This was totally different from the other Latin America countries because it's a very different culture. It's a country, for example, where they not only speak English, they also speak French. So we had a challenge to find French speakers in Colombia, uh, and we made it. So this showed the organization that we could support employees from any country in one specific region. So it was very, very good. And then finally, in 2020, we got the challenge to also support from Colombia the United States, and this was the biggest one, of course. It was like very, very. It was a very, very challenge project. I I I'm gonna tell you that I think it was very, very good because we were showing the rest of the world that in America we would have one hub to support 15,000 employees with different languages, with different cultures, but with the same quality of service. Communication plays like a very important role on promoting this transparency and trust. So when you have a clear and consistent communication about HR initiatives, policies, and expectations, this is going to help employees to understand what happens behind the scenes. So what decisions the organization is taking, and like will give employees a more sense of inclusivity. So when you open channels of communication, like I don't know, town hall meetings or employee surveys, for example, this will reinforce that we have a culture of bringing employees to give their feedback, to be more an open organization that listen them more. But you also need to work with continuous evaluation. When we think about improving our processes, like this continuous evaluation and improvement, they are essential to contribute to a positive and inclusive workplace. So when you listen to your employees' feedback, or when you uh, listen to their concerns, and you put these inside your HR strategies accordingly, I think we can ensure that we remain responsive, like to their needs, to like contributing to a culture of continuous improvement and inclusivity. So it's not only about like sending a lot of emails with communication. It's like listening to employees. It's like getting a post survey, for example, and working with action plans, and then putting this, sending this back to employees and showing them what we are doing different. Because you can listen a lot of feedback, but if you don't put this on action, it's not gonna worth it. You're not gonna make it. So they're gonna keep seeing the company as a company that don't work with continuous improvement, for example. You need to be curious. That's the thing. So technology is changing fast. The focus now is providing a better user experience to customer and employees. So if you build strong technical skills, so if you work with these new technologies, if you not only like knowing how this would impact the HR environment, but also how to use the technology, how to improve your daily activities, how to provide support to all of your employees. So some of like other important things like be adaptable, like be resilient. The world is changing very fast. So we need to be updated. We need to think out of the box. We need to challenge ourselves. So if you don't follow this new technology that is coming, you're going to be behind the other players. So you need to remember, like, keep investing in your skills, in your knowledge, in your professional growth. This will show the organization that you are working, that you can do more, that you can learn more, that you can be adaptable, and that you are open to new challenges. So again, be curious. That this will make the difference in this new, like, technology world.